In this video, I'm going to share a different viewpoint on premature menopause and early menopause, and I kind of view them the same, and it just kind of depends on what your age is as far as which label you get to win. But if you've been researching this topic and maybe you're getting a little tired of hearing, hey, what's wrong with your hormones? Why won't your hormones do what you're told? Hey, why don't we just cram more hormones in there? If that's not really the dialogue you're wanting to have, sometimes it can be helpful to have a different viewpoint. And I think that by the end of this video, not only is what I'm talking about going to be like, oh man, that makes sense. Why would that make sense? You're also, instead of asking the question of, hey, why is a dude talking about menopause? I think you're going to be asking the question of, why hasn't anybody ever told me this before? It's going to be weird.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So whether menopause shows up at a normal time or an early time or a premature time, it can all be viewed as this reproductive cycle shutting down. And it's an amazing thing that a woman can make a baby. She can just be like, hey, look what I made. It's a person. You just made a shelf. It's not even a floating shelf. You need to try harder. I made a person. It's a human. So, but to make a human, just like making anything, takes stuff. Like if you wanted to make a garden or a house or a gingerbread man, that all takes stuff to make that. If you tried to build a house without any materials, then your housewarming party would be just a bunch of people in your yard eating egg salad. So you need like wood and nails or bricks or concrete or whatever you're gonna build that house out of. And that's the same thing with a baby. You need vitamins and minerals and amino acids and all those good things that we're made out of. That's the same thing that the babies are made out of. So we know for sure that some people have lower levels of resources in the body. We hear all the time about people having vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and that's not a new piece of information. We hear all the time of all the health issues that can come from these deficiencies. So wouldn't it make sense that if it takes all of these resources to make a baby, and a woman had a really low level of resources, wouldn't that make sense that Mother Nature would kind of shut that system down? Because if she tried to make a baby, the baby's going to take a lot of resources to build this human being. And that's going to take a lot of the resources from the mother when the mother already doesn't really have enough. So it seems like Mother Nature would have this backup protective plan to shut that system down when there wasn't enough resources to really allow it to happen the way that it should and allow the mother to continue to function the way that she should. So we might want to ask, why would one woman have fewer of these nutrient materials available and another woman would have plenty and she could make a baby? And what we do know is that we get these vitamins and minerals and amino acids from the food that we eat. It comes out of our food. This is not a new piece of information. Amino acids come from breaking down proteins, and we pull vitamins and minerals out of the food that we eat. So to understand where things can go awry, we need to look at how digestion works. So when we eat food, our stomachs make hydrochloric acid, or HCl. And this stomach acid, as it's called, is made to help us acidify and break down that food. And then once the food is acidified correctly, it leaves the stomach and goes into the duodenum, which is the first 10 inches of the small intestine. And that's where the gallbladder squirts this alkaline bile down onto the acidic product that left the stomach. So when this acid product meets this alkaline bile product, these opposite pHs collide, it creates a sizzle. And this sizzle is what really helps us bust that food apart so that we can get all of the nutrients out of that food. The problem is, it's really common today for someone not to be making enough stomach acid, and it's really common for someone's bile to become too thick and sticky to flow correctly. So if either of those sides of digestion are not working correctly, we don't really get that sizzle, and we can't really get all of the nutrients out of the food that we're eating. And this situation where someone is not making enough stomach acid is so common that there's a name for it. It's called hypochlorideria. And I'm going to put some links in the description below for studies that have shown that hypochlorideria can cause issues like indigestion. And well, what is indigestion? It's right there in the name. Indigestion, an inability to digest. It's a lack of digestion. It can also cause malabsorption and can allow for bacterial infections. Other studies have shown that hypochlorideria can cause an inability to absorb minerals. So Without this stomach acid there, we lose that ability to access the nutrients in that food and bring those into the system so that they can be utilized by the body. I'll also put some links below that show that a lot of this bile flow stuff is triggered by the stomach acid. So if there isn't enough stomach acid to trigger the bile to flow, then the bile won't get called on. It doesn't come down and it will continue to concentrate in the gallbladder until it becomes too thick and sticky to flow correctly. And there's a wide variety of other reasons that can cause either of these sides of digestion to malfunction, but when one malfunctions, it can remove that ability to really get the nutrients out of the food. And one of the tricks is that the body needs minerals to be able to make hydrochloric acid. So if a person had this hypochlorideria and it allowed a bacterial infection to come in and set up camp, that could also over-alkalize the stomach and restrict the ability to acidify the food so the person can get all the minerals out of that food so that the body has the resources it needs to make hydrochloric acid. So if someone's stomach acid was so low that they were going to be diagnosed with hypochlorideria, doesn't it make sense that maybe someone just has a little bit less stomach acid? Maybe not quite enough to really digest their food, but maybe it's not so low that they're going to be diagnosed with this issue? Doesn't it make sense that there would be varying levels of this problem from person to person? We also see a lot of studies showing how prenatal vitamins can improve infertility issues. And we see women who are having infertility problems and they'll use these prenatal vitamins and all of a sudden they're able to make a baby. And if we're understanding that these babies take minerals and resources and vitamins to make the baby, then that makes sense that why bringing in more resources would help some women. It does not help all women, but it helps some women improve their ability to make a baby. And when we look at other issues and risk factors that can kind of be associated with early menopause, we see things like Crohn's disease, and that's a lack of digestion. That's all those foods screaming through the system with that chronic diarrhea issue, and everything's moving too fast to really be able to assimilate the nutrients that are in the food that we're eating. We also see symptoms like mood disorders and osteoporosis and infertility, and these are the types of symptoms that we see with people who have really low resources and are showing that they don't appear to have a lot of minerals and other resources in the system, and often it's due to these digestive issues that they're dealing with. So if you're dealing with any type of digestive symptoms, whether it's burping or bloating or constipation or diarrhea or acid reflux or nausea or even acne or skin issues, these can all be signs that digestion is not functioning the way that it's supposed to function. So if we know that we need nutrients to build a baby, and we know that we get those nutrients from the food that we're eating, and we know that digestive malfunctions can restrict our ability to access the nutrients in the food that we're eating, if we know all these things, don't you think that we should be kind of researching, hey, what happens when we improve digestive function? Does it improve this issue? Anybody want to bust open a study on that one? I'll wait. So if we're waiting a long time, that may be the case. But if you are dealing with digestive malfunctions and digestive symptoms, who's to say that you can't take steps to improve those and just see how you feel? See how your body functions after you improve the ability to access the nutrients in the food that you're eating. In my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts, chapters 3 and 4 walk a person through the process of figuring out which aspects of digestion might not be working correctly and what steps they could take to improve those. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can get the whole thing totally for free. And you can just jump to chapters 3 and 4 and kind of check that out and see if there's steps that you could take to improve your own situation. And if you want to, right now you can jump over and check out our video on 10 signs of low stomach acid and our other video on 10 signs of poor bile flow to see if maybe you have a lot of other things showing up indicating that there might be problems with digestion. I can't wait to hear about your results.